So to look at this problem and really understand how they can improve margins, it makes sense to understand what's causing it to decline today, and then also thinking about opportunities. And the first bucket I have is non-financial factors, and then the second bucket I have is financial factors. So starting within non-financial, there's some internal company operation things I'd want to look at. So specifically, would want to understand their different segments, if there's different trends impacting their segments. And I'd also want to understand a bit of our customer mix. Are we mostly serving consumers? Are we serving businesses that are buying trucks or doing leases for their employees, for example, because businesses might be more stable than consumer purchases? Also would want to understand our employee base. And then the second kind of thing I'd want to look at within non-financial factors is external factors. So looking at our competitors, so other dealerships in Florida, how are they performing? Because that can kind of give us insight as to how much control we have over this. The other thing I would want to look at is macro trends. So I would imagine things like tariffs would impact these guys. I would imagine things like interest rates, if they have a financing arm, would impact these guys. General consumer sentiment might push down sales of new cars. So that wraps up my non-financial bucket. Within financial, I'd want to look at one top line and two bottom line. Firstly, within top line, I'd want to look at unit sales. So that could be units sold of cars. That could be what's the conversion rate for how much we're financing versus people are going elsewhere. What's our parts service sale volume look like, as well as the mix of the types of services. Also would want to look at our path to purchase funnels, so our conversion rates from getting people in the store to how many are actually buying, if there's any trends that jump out. And then I'd also want to look at, I think this is most relevant for services, but if how we think about general customer retention. And so I've mentioned a bunch of things and jumped around segments, but at a high level, it's unit sales for all the segments and what that means for each segment. It's our path to purchase funnel, and then how we think about customer retention across the segments, where I think that would be most valuable to look at for the parts and services business. And on the bottom line or cost factors, I'd want to look at COGS and OPEX. Within COGS, looking by segments, how have costs of parts, the vehicle procurement costs changed, etc. And then on OPEX, looking at the main line items. For a dealership, I would imagine the big buckets would be rent, or you have this big building that you have to maintain. I would think the cost of maintaining that, rent and facilities, would be huge. Also marketing. I just think you have a lot of ads for dealerships. I would imagine they spend a lot on marketing, and then salaries and sales comp, because I think they're people-driven businesses, right? You buy in the store, so I would imagine salaries are big ones. So would want to look at OPEX overall, but focus in on those ones that I would think would be higher. And then I think it would be important to do some benchmarking against our peers for those buckets.